Oh man, you know it's serious when he's not wearing his glasses. What's up, guys? This is just a video I wanted to record really quick. Because this is a day that I just don't want to pass by without sitting down or just, properly celebrating to some capacity. Because if you don't know, today, as you probably saw with the title, as you clicked, today is the 10th anniversary of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the movie, which of course kickstarted the whole series when it eventually started to air in October, a few months later, all of this in 2008, of course. And I don't know. I wanted to record something, at least for the second channel here, because, for those of you who don't know, I think most of you who follow me on here do, that I've mentioned it several times, the Clone Wars is pretty much why I'm here. It changed me as a person, which is a weird thing to say considering I was only 9 years old. But when I was 9 years old, and I think I first found out about the Clone Wars, first on Lego.com when I saw there were new sets coming out, and then I think I found the trailer on YouTube, and I remember seeing it and just being so excited, and finally when it came out, going to see it, and I just loving it. I was so invested in it. At that age I didn't even notice the animation, considering Lucasfilm was still developing the animation at the time. They didn't really have the animation like fully established yet, the animation style, and so their mouths barely moved and things like that. I just didn't notice as a kid, and I just fell in love with the movie, and I still love the Clone Wars movie, say what you will about it. I remember getting my first ever Anakin Skywalker minifigure. It was actually my second one because I had one from Revenge of the Sith. This is the one that just came out with the new Anakin's Jedi Starfighter, but I remember getting that one at the Lego store in 2008, shortly after seeing the movie, and just being so inspired by the Clone Wars movie that, of course I started to get all the Lego sets that I could at the time, but my parents, of course, couldn't afford every Lego set, so I would just kind of drool at the thought of getting the Republic gunship or the AT-TE, but I settled for the homing spider droid, and that was my first ever Clone Wars set after Anakin's Jedi Starfighter. And that was so cool. I got my first animated Clone Troopers, Commander Fox. The Spider Droid was really great. And it was so cool, man. I got it at Toys R Us too, which is really sad to think about how Toys R Us is gone. But the reason I really wanted to talk about this is because, after that point, after I started to make my own Republic bases and I started to see stop motions on YouTube, eventually the series kicked off, and I remember we had just moved to Jacksonville, Florida from Orlando, and we couldn't afford cable yet. We were going to Blockbuster. There was one right outside our neighborhood, another franchise that is gone, and that's where we would, get our entertainment. We weren't, YouTube wasn't hopping yet. You couldn't use YouTube like you could TV. It wasn't at that point in 2008, and so we would go and buy, rent seasons of shows from Blockbuster, and so because we didn't have a cable connection, we had to go to our neighborhood's local gym, like the neighborhood gym, and watch the Clone Wars as it aired in there. And I did that, I think, for the first 10 episodes of season 1 before we got cable. And I remember the first episode that I saw, in our own home, was, I think it was Dooku Captured, I believe, and that was really great. But I remember watching the 2-hour premiere ambush with Yoda, Thyre, Jek, and Reese, and then of course the episode with Plo Koon and the Wolf Pack before Commander, well, I think Commander Wolf was in it, but I don't actually fully remember, but I do remember Sinker and Boost and, the space sequences and all the escape pods being opened, and I love the Clone Wars Season 1. I don't understand really what a lot of people say about the Clone Wars Season 1 not being that great and being slow or just, cringy. I don't get it. But then I started to, the next wave of Clone Wars sets came out, and this is where things really started to escalate, because I remember I went to Toys R Us, I got my very first Clone Walker Battle Pack, And from that point on, I started to get the rest of the sets. The Armored Assault Tank. It was so cool because it was our first Yoda minifigure since Revenge of the Sith. And then the same with the Republic Attack Shuttle, getting Mace Windu. And those sets had a huge impact on me. Obviously the Clone Walker Battle Packs, because from that point on I started to build my own army with them, and it was so exciting being able to get that many clones in a single set, because, you know, prior to that, you weren't able to get a lot of clones because they were, you know, the sets, they only came in the more expensive sets. And so from that point, I started to meet other YouTubers through Skype, and that was huge for me, because if you were a fan of Lego and Star Wars, we were friends. My friend circle when I first discovered Skype was huge. I talked to anyone and anyone who wanted to talk about Lego and the Clone Wars, and it was so cool, man. It was really great, because at this point I started to customize clones. I picked up a Sharpie for the first time after seeing Squad 42, Alone in the Dark from Spuggastu, and of course he had the Clone Army Customs, Devis and Commander Cody, and those inspired me to pick up a Sharpie and try to make my own clones. And I think the first one I tried to make was a 7th Sky Corps Legion Airborne Trooper, and it looked horrible. I used a Stormtrooper helmet, it was great, but from that point on, man, it was just nothing but creative bliss and excitement for the Clone Wars through its entire run, as we all, you know, as I met so many people who I called my best friends at the time, most of whom I haven't spoken to in many years, but it was just so much fun, you know, watching the Clone Wars as it would air, you know, religiously, you know, rushing back home to catch episodes, with how much I loved this series, you know, and just being so excited for whatever figures Clone Army Customs would be releasing next, and how Tyler Page would make the next minifigures. And it was just, like I said, pure creative bliss amongst all my friends, and we would just talk on Skype for hours and hours on end, each and every day. We were obviously young and weren't doing anything else, just sitting there working on our custom clones, and sometimes eventually Halo minifigures and World War II here and there. And those were the early days, man, you know, picking up our Clone Wars sets. I remember some other ones that I really loved, the Venator class Star Destroyer, getting the Senate Commandos out of that, the Corporate Alliance tank droid I got overseas because it came out early over there, and that was so exciting. And then also the Republic dropship with AT-OT. I remember that was my birthday gift. I forget how old I was turning at the time, but I went to the Lego store to get it, and that was really great. I think that's still my favorite Lego set of all time. I love that set so much. I still have it mostly intact, the AT-OT not so much, but if I really wanted to rebuild it, I could. But yeah, it was just the Clone Wars. It's you know, and the clones just sparked something in me as a kid creatively, and that is why my YouTube channel exists today, and that is what sent me down this journey, and that is you know, why I am who I am today. And it's crazy, because I remember, you know, as a kid, I never could have imagined that the Clone Wars would do so much for me. And it's like, that's just the one thing. I can always point to the Clone Wars and be like, that was it. That was where my life took a, you know, like like, you know, if you time traveled and if I didn't see the Clone Wars, I probably would have started to lose interest in Star Wars, and who knows, I would have become a different person. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about how big of an impact the Clone Wars actually had on me. And of course, eventually when Disney took over Lucasfilm and the acquisition happened, and they canceled it because they wanted to get their own series running, and they didn't want to negotiate with Lucasfilm or with Cartoon Network or whatever, you know, we were all crushed. I don't have to re-explain it. But then for, you know, after suffering through, you know, 4 or 5 long years of Rebels, and finally getting to the announcement during Comic-Con that the Clone Wars was coming back for its final season, and Disney greenlit 12 final episodes for their streaming service next year. it's great, man. You know, what a time to be alive, right? What a time to be a Star Wars fan, because those were words I think none of us ever expected we would hear. We thought the Clone Wars was it. I mean, it'd been 5 years, 4 years, over 4 years, I think, since the Lost Missions were posted on Netflix, the final leftover episodes, which were great, but not an ending. So it's just something I wanted to talk about. You know, and going to Star Wars weekends, 2011, 13, you know, going from 2011 through to 2013 was also really cool. Because I got to meet Matt Lanter the first year, and then from the years that would follow, I met James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan. Matt Lanter is the voice of Anakin, if you didn't know, and Ashley Eckstein, Ahsoka Tano. I met her and James Arnold Taylor many times. Eventually Sam Witwer, who voices Maul, D. Bradley Baker, of course, who voices the clones. I had D. Baker and James record intros for me a couple times, and they were really nice about it. They were really cool, and of course I met so many other people like Billy D. Williams, Peter Mayhew, and so many others that I could point to. Tim Rose, the puppeteer for Akbar. It was great, and you know, I got to experience Star Wars weekends with great people. You know, I met some people, you know, like my friend Eric, who's one of my best friends now. I met him there. Nabil, he's I don't remember his name because it ends in a bunch of numbers that I don't remember, but you know, I met him there. Corey from First Order Transmissions, writer over at Making Star Wars, I met him there. You know, it's just the Clone Wars was just, I don't even know what to say. You know, I just, you know, it's just like, obviously they're not going to see this, but, you know, just a huge congratulations to Dave Filoni and, you know, the entire cast and the entire crew and everybody that budgeted everything, and all the animators and Kevin Kiner who composed everything for the series. You know, just everybody who played a part in making the Clone Wars, because while to most people who haven't seen it, they wouldn't understand, the Clone Wars is why I exist on this platform, why I have a YouTube channel, and why I have consistently pursued creativity over anything else over the last 10 years of my life. And now here I am, I'm 20. I finally just got my permit last year, and then I just drove for the first time alone today, which was pretty crazy. And I didn't get my permit, you know, that quickly. I didn't rush into it. You know, I didn't just, you know, as soon as I turned 15, just hop right on it, because it just wasn't an issue. If we needed to go somewhere, either my mom, my dad, or my sister would hop in the car. We'd just go. You know, never an issue. And so last year I changed that, and I'm just pointing it out because, you know, times changed, and I didn't think 10 years later I would be driving from, you know, by myself on the dot on the 10-year anniversary of the Clone Wars movie being released. And but yeah, 10 years later, it's been a decade of it's just been one hell of a journey. And I'm so thankful for the Clone Wars and everything that it did for me and all my friends, some of whom, like I said, I now still call my best friends. So just changed my life, man. I can't sit here and explain to you in detail all the, you know, crazy things and people and ideas and laughs that were shared amongst each other at every Skype call over the years, but you can find it all on my channel. You know, just go on my channel and sort by oldest to newest, and you can find all the early years where you can see how much the Clone Wars helped me develop as a teenager and as a person. And yeah, and now I move forward in life with the influence that the Clone Wars had on me, and you know, nothing but fond memories for what I consider to be the greatest animated series ever created. And we have George Lucas and Dave Filoni and the cast and the crew to thank for producing it and developing it. So yeah, I tried to say a really short version of all of this, of the past like 13 minutes. Dave Filoni on an escalator at Celebration. It was probably pretty awkward for him, but I had to say it, and that was great too. But yeah, reminiscing video, nostalgia video. I doubt anyone really sat through this. I just had to post it, you know, because of the Clone Wars. I think, you know, the 10-year anniversary is something I couldn't just let pass by without talking about it because of how big of an effect it had on me. But yeah, so now we made it to the end. You might have seen on Twitter and I think on Patreon, I posted the official list of Clone Wars minifigures that I will be showcasing starting in October with Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka. And then, of course, I will also be working with AV Figures, my buddy Andrew Vu, who I just saw at Brick Fair, Virginia, which happened a couple weeks ago already. And that was super fun. Can't wait. I loved seeing those guys. Hopefully I'll be able to see them again soon, next year sometime. But then after that, it'll be Rex, Cody, Fives, Bly, and then also Cad Bane, Maul, and Pre Vizsla, and those are going to be the figures that I'm hoping to make to celebrate this 10 years of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. And then after that, I'm going to make some Marvel Cinematic Universe figures I never got the chance to when I was first starting out with painting, early after the Clone Wars had ended. And then after that point, it's going to be Aquaman, and it should be great. Hopefully I'll be able to do it all, even though I'm starting up a class here that's going to take up a lot of time. But yeah, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, 10 years. Had to sit here and reminisce for a bit, because oh my god. It's like I just want to sit down and like Sharpie a clone again, just to remember what it felt like. But instead, I'm gonna go watch the Clone Wars movie on Netflix, because I feel like it's definitely worth the occasion to stop and watch it again. It's been a long time. I could definitely open up Avengers: Infinity War and watch that, but I've been watching that on digital quite a bit recently anyway. So anyway, that's it, man. I'm gonna go put the glasses back on, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for sticking around for all of this, for whatever reason, if you did. And I'll catch you next time. All right. I'm also going to start on Venom in a few days, so look forward to that. Okay, bye.